One thing I was learning, though: speed. While I debated the finer points of philosophy with myself, a mob of zombies and spinies burst through the door at the back end of the corridor, the one I'd come through myself, as if they owned the damn place. They noticed me and tore down the narrow corridor. I did not take longer than a microsecond to resolve the question. I ran like a bat out of hell, a bat trying to get the hell out of hell. Although finding the commanding officer of the invasion was an important issue, I decided it could wait until later for review. Much later. With this many of the enemy breathing down my neck, the shotgun was useless. Maybe my new machine pistol would have worked, but what I already had in my hands was the rocket launcher. For an instant, I considered the narrow corridor that might channel the blast right back in my face, the proximity of the nearest spiny. For an instant. Then I dug my heel in and spun, ready to rock and roll. The explosion was so loud that I didn't hear it. I felt it. A giant, invisible hand threw me to the ground. My eyes were open, and I saw the whole contingent that was on my tail vanish in a spray of blood and fire. The sight was something to think about, especially since it was the last sight I saw. I must have lost consciousness. An indeterminate time later, I began to hear a sound, too loud and annoying to sleep through. Like all the church bells the penguins ever rung at me, all the bells in the world in my head. I still couldn't see anything, just a bright after image. It was 15 minutes before the bells were replaced by a buzzing sound, then the slosh slosh of blood in my ears. I would have been easy pickings, as Gunny Goforth would say. Maybe I was saved by looking as dead as the rest of them. When I was able, I crawled along the corridor, dragging my feet. There was no time to examine my possessions. One thing for certain, if those glass syringes were still in one piece inside their supposedly shockproof container, I'd be giving more product endorsements. Shaking my head clear and staggering to my feet, I finally made it to the one long, spacious corridor in the otherwise cramped, tight core processing center. This one was well marked on the map I'd studied. The only route to what the map indicated were the stairs down. Judging from the red and gold and brown streaks on the rough walls, this corridor had been carved right out of the rock of Phobos. I liked it, and hoped it wouldn't be reworked into something sickening. Halfway down the corridor, I suddenly felt lightheaded, and my stomach broke loose from its moorings. At first I thought I was experiencing more symptoms from the rocket blast. Then I realized what was happening. No one goes to space without experiencing 0G, and you never forget it. This was damned close enough. I should have studied the map more closely when I had the chance. The middle section of this corridor must pass outside the ancient, alien gravity zone. A handrail was installed for the obvious reason. Grabbing it, I pulled myself along. A single tug was enough to overcome friction in Phobos' minuscule natural gravity. I'd spent enough time on the ship to Mars that this was simple enough, unless I had the bad luck to be attacked right now. I'd never taken 0G combat training. Pulling myself around a corner, I floated practically into the arms of a triplet of spinies. Luck has never been my long suit. But these leathery bastards were walking on the walls and ceiling as if they enjoyed their own personal gravity that followed them around, each oriented in a different direction. One more piece of evidence that they were unbeatable. Then one of them looked right at me and spoke. Gosh, are we having a ball or what? It hawked a loogie into its hand, where the mucus immediately burst into flame. My hog leg was tucked in the webbing at my back, and there was no room to draw it in this corridor. No time to work it free. The demon raised the flaming ball of snot, grinning like a goblin. I threw my head back, rotating my body in the microgravity. I didn't bother drawing the shotgun. When I rotated my body so the barrel was pointing at that cracked and grinning face, I fired. A lucky shot. Blew its head clean off. Guess my luck's not so abysmal after all. The blast acted like a rocket, propelling me backward. When I stopped spinning, I grabbed the rail, drew the shotgun free, and pulled myself back where I'd left off. The two remaining monsters had forgotten all about me. They were fighting each other, claws dug into throats, bloody drool trickling down wrinkled chins and bursting into flame. Was it possible? Just one brain to a set? Kill the mastermind and the rest turn on each other? Evidently, the mind behind the invasion had the power to manifest itself through only one or two individuals in a group. I tucked that one away in the hindbrain. I would use it later. I waited politely until one brain-dead Spiny offed the other. Then I rewarded the victor with the spoils, a 12-gauge blast to the face, this time with my back braced against the wall. I hauled ass along the corridor to the gravity zone. At the far north end of the facility, I found a switch that opened a door leading to the stairway where I could process myself right out of central processing. Down one flight on the spiral, metal grate stairway, the computer station welcomed me with a thin layer of green sludge. At this point, I just didn't care. I was willing to jump into the ooze and slog through it as long as my boots held out. I wanted out of here. I ran without stopping until I discovered that whatever crap for brains idiot designed this playground set it up so you go around in circles before noticing you were going around in circles. The computer station was a haze of forgetfulness. It started out badly, where I couldn't find an Arlene mark. I hunted along every passageway without luck. Either she followed a totally different route and our paths did not cross, or more likely, she had a reception committee waiting for her when she climbed down the ladder, and she was in a running firefight until she found a bolt hole. The damnedest part was, this was the lowest level, so far as I knew. If they finally ran her to ground, I should have found her, or her remains. There was nowhere else for Arlene to go. There were few monsters on this floor. I shot a couple of Spinies in the back. Hey, I'm not proud, but mostly avoided the patrols. En route, I picked up 2 blue keycards and 3 yellows, plucking one off the dead body of a zombie. Something or someone had gnawed off its legs and one arm. It was still animate as I approached and tried to bite me, but I was faster and more ruthless. I blew its brains out, putting it out of misery, and took the keycard tucked into its belt. I found 2 maps, both burned beyond recognition, but by sheer persistence, I finally found it. One of those big, metallic doors that like to stand between me and where I want to go. One of those keycard teases that demand you stick it in. But this bitch had a special feature. An irritating, unisex, nasally parking lot ticket machine voice. The kind that says, "Please take the ticket," as if you're a bumpkin from Mad Dog, Arkansas, who's never seen a car park before. No monster could have ever created such a surreal torture device of art. It took a human touch. "Hello," it said. "To exit the computer station, please insert your gold security card now." All right. I supposed yellow was as good as gold. I inserted the card and the cheap trick chirped, "Thank you. To exit the control station, please insert your blue security card now." I began to hear screams behind me, up the corridor. The damned door had probably notified security while it deliberately delayed me. I fumbled the blue keycard into the slot, but I knew exactly what was coming. "Thank you. To exit the computer station, please insert your red security card now." If there were a red keycard anywhere on this level, I was a purple-assed baboon. And I didn't become a Marine to put up with this crap. Even the Spinies were less frustrating than this. But I had a solution. Last time I'd fired a rocket, I'd made the mistake of standing too damned close. So I made sure that I got far away from that smug bitch of a door, placing myself squarely behind a column and part of a staircase. I fired both rockets from the launcher simultaneously, just to be sure. The result was outstanding. Excellent. A credit to the Corps. As loud as it was, it didn't deafen me this time. At this distance, the headgear worked like it was supposed to. I walked through the smoking ruins of that bloody door with a sense of satisfaction greater than when I'd winged that toxin barrel and taken out a room full of zombies with one bullet. I'd struck a blow against the true evil, the chowder-headed humans who designed these installations. From now on, I refused to worry about plastic cards and security keys. Nothing could stop me. Then I found the lift that should have taken me out of there. The lift at the very end of the facility. My reward for having all the stupid cards. The entire shaft was filled with human and animal remains. A hellish grain elevator. I don't know how long I stood there, staring stupidly. Then nausea overwhelmed me, and I vomited for several minutes. Weak and shaky, I thought for several more minutes that I had climbed the farthest down I could go in the Phobos installation. A dead end. Nowhere to go but back the way I came. I knew I couldn't make it, but I was long past crawling into a corner and playing fetus. I'd go down fighting if I went, hoping somehow Arlene had escaped what was a death trap for me. Even though it was a long shot, I thought again of the possibility of blowing up Phobos. Better that than let these bastards win. Then I noticed a foul, blood-red, evil glowing circle in the floor. It had not been there a moment ago. A ghastly stench arose from the orifice, like human flesh frying on the griddle. I once missed getting firebombed by a Kafiristan terrorist. I was on guard duty at the Marine Corps compound when the main barracks went up. 33 buddies burned to death. You never forget that smell. They transferred me to Fox Company within 48 hours. This hole pulsed like a heartbeat. There was a ladder made of light pink, fleshy cords that appeared to sweat. I didn't have to be a rocket scientist to know that no human ever made this baby. Besides, this wasn't a job for a rocket scientist. This was a job for someone rock stupid enough to be a Marine. Resigned, I slung my shotgun and rifle, bolstered the machine pistol, and started climbing down the sticky, wet, springy ladder. At the bottom there was plenty of light, at least a sickly reddish light. The flesh pit ladder dropped me into the largest corridor I'd seen yet. I would have said it was carved out of the rock of this moon, the same as Phobos' lab, but the inside of the walls seemed to perspire, like the ladder. Holding my breath and looking close, I saw hundreds, thousands of small orifices opening and closing to the same steady beat as the red circle above. I decided I'd done enough close examination for a lifetime. Then, by God, I saw it. Another AS. Biggest one yet. Even in the heart of hell, I was cheered to know I wasn't alone. I didn't exactly whistle a tune, but I smiled grimly. Arlene's mark was accompanied by a crude drawing of a skull and crossbones, with an arrow pointing straight ahead. A second arrow pointed out a narrow slit in the wall, a slit that was a friendly hole in rock, not pulsating or anything disgusting, a slit into what looked to be the outside. We were hundreds of meters below the surface of tiny Phobos, but there was goddamned daylight coming through that opening. But that was one mother of a narrow crack. Could I even get through that? Could Arlene even? I touched the edge of the slit. Tacky blood. A couple of hours old, tops. Mary, Mother of God. I had a vision. She had gone out. Right there. She shoved herself so hard, tearing at that crack, that she flayed off huge strips of skin. But she didn't care. She wanted out. She wanted out bad. She wanted out right then, not 5 seconds later. Leading me to the obvious conclusion. Arlene had seen something up ahead that even she was too terrified to face.